guys. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's 10:01 and we want to be respectful of time and make sure everybody gets every ounce of joy and knowledge and wisdom from the Phair-Hinton Group. We are so pleased to be able to present this to you today. Phair-Hinton is a team that works out of our North Shore office, and they have a presence in Chicago. They have done remarkable business. They've contributed to the growth of all of our markets. Bless you. I was sharing with Emily before we started this off that last year they did a lead gen presentation for us that has become classic in our training lexicon. I send it to all of our new people. If you haven't had a chance to dive into that one, check out our YouTube channel. And now we have a new content that we're very excited about: powerful client communication. And all of us have experienced this year. Communication is the key. When we've got multiple offers on the table, we're trying to build relationships with our co-brokes. We want to keep our clients informed and in the process. The glue for all of us is that communication. So Emily is here and she's brought some of her amazing team with her. And I am excited to hand this over to her. So thank you all. And Emily, thank you for being here and for your team.
Thank you. Okay, quite an intro. Thank you. Well, we've got a really, really good crew on today. So I know we've got Chicago represented, we've got Milwaukee represented, but then also we blasted this to really agents across the country. So we've got a few from Minneapolis, we've got somebody from Detroit. So it's like, okay, we'll take you all. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. I'm Emily Phair of the Phair-Hinton Real Estate Group out of Chicago, Milwaukee. And I have my fabulous admin with us here. I'm going to introduce them in just a second. But I want to give you guys just like a benchmark of who I am, who we are, because notice in the picture, we are a we. I'm not sure if Kevin Hinton, the better looking part of our team, is here. He might be, and if he's not, he might pop on at some point. But we are a partnership, and we have 14 people on our team. It started with Kevin and I, and then has grown from there. So we got into business less than 5 years ago. So we went from zero, basically, to sniffing 100 million. I don't think we're going to get there this year, but we for sure will next year. We're just sniffing it in less than 5 years. And the reason that we've been able to do that is through good communication, direct, strong client communication, and then communication amongst each other and our team members. So we have started in Chicago, and then we expanded to Milwaukee about 18 months ago. And that's proven to be a huge success, and we love the Milwaukee market. And now we're thinking about other opportunities outside of the Midwest, actually. So we'll keep you posted there, but there's so much opportunity, and we are just working on poising ourselves to take advantage of anything that comes our way. So I got 3 other fabulous women on the call with me that are going to work. We're going to work them in during the presentation. So this is our admin staff. And so I'm going to have them each pop on and introduce themselves. Mal, why don't you start?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Molly Mudd. I am the Director of Ops for Phair-Hinton Group, and I came up with this morning. I'm kind of like the OG PhD admin. I was Emily and Kevin's first hire back in May, 2017. I moved from Iowa to work for Emily and Kevin in Chicago, and here we are, going to be 5 years later this upcoming May. So excited to be here and collaborate with you all. Kim, do you want to take it off?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Kim Thompson. I'm the listing manager of the Phair-Hinton Chicago Milwaukee team. And yeah, I was their second admin hire, been here for 3 years, and just excited to be here with you all today and see some new faces and meet you all too.
Cool. Brianna. She's here somewhere.
Sorry. Good morning, everybody. I'm Brianna Wayne. I am the transaction coordinator for the Phair-Hinton Group. And I've been with the team just over 6 months. So it's been a big, fun learning adventure in every direction.
Yes, yes. And Brianna has a special talent of knowing the Chicago market and the Milwaukee market. And if you guys don't know, when you cross state lines, it is not the same. So to be able to manage transactions with an attorney state and without an attorney state is wildly confusing. And Brianna is an absolute rock star. So Thanks, you guys. So these guys are all going to chime in, but I got to say one thing. Phair-Hinton loves to have interactive presentations in classes. So this is not about me telling you or us telling you. It's about a dialogue. So if we say something and you guys have a question or a response or a reaction, just chime in, just unmute yourself and let's go. This is supposed to be interactive and fun, okay? Because I hear myself talk all day long and I'm bored of myself. So please join. Okay. So just a little bit more of context to kind of like how we're structured, because this question comes up a lot, like who's who, right? And so this visual will hopefully give you some context as to how we manage the communication amongst our team, and then of course with our clients. So Kevin and I are obviously the co-founders, and we primarily work listings, although we do work with buyers. And then the middle gals you just heard from, of course. And then we have our team of agents. And so some of those agents are Chicago, some of them are Milwaukee, but we kind of all feed in to the middle, which is our admin. So any communication that comes out of our team, it's really centered on the admin group that you're going to hear a lot from today. And then here is a little more about like our numbers, again, just to help you guys kind of understand like where we came from and where we're going. What's really cool about this is like we've almost doubled from 20 to 21 in every category. So if you look at volume, GCI, units, et cetera, even markets, right? We had one market in 2020 in the start of 2020, and now we've got two. So we're really on a trajectory of growth, which has been super exciting. And it happened from 2020 to 2021. So it wasn't, well, I guess it was fast if you consider that we've only been in business for less than 5 years, but we really did kind of slow and steady until we were ready to fly. And that was in 2021. And so now we're at a total of 14 agents, and we're just rocking and rolling 2 markets, which has been super fun. Okay, so today we're going to cover what we're calling power opportunities, right? So we're talking all about communication, all about client communication. I got to say that the title of this class is a little misleading because powerful communication happens with clients, but it also has to happen amongst your team. If you have a team, if you're a solo agent, it has to happen with your vendors, right? So with your lender, with your attorney, with your inspector, it has to happen with your co-brokes, right? So if you're doing a deal, you got to have good, solid communication with those that you're working with. So it's powerful communication, and we threw in the word client. Okay, so just so you know, we're going to go broader than just client communication. But here are the opportunities that we have. Kind of, we're going to break this down into what we think are the main areas that we can focus on to build a better and stronger business. So consistency with our clients, of course, consistency is huge. Systematization of our transactions is huge. We're going to have a conversation about talking to our people less often, with more purpose. And some of that is going to make you guys cringe because you want to be 24/7, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about leverage, which if you are part of KW Milwaukee North Shore, you hear Charlie say all the time, leverage is a new hustle. We love it. Leverage is our favorite word in the whole world. And then our second favorite word is value. So at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about how to make sure that the communication that you have with each other and with your clients is always about adding value. That's it. If you guys don't know what to say, just go back to the, how can I add value to this person? Start there, and we're going to have a discussion about that. So, okay, we're going to start with consistent client communication, okay? And notice that we use the word consistent and not constant, okay? And we're going to-
We changed yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
After
yes.
we realized.
We did, because we were talking about consistency, and we're like, no. Because consistency implies that you're always on the clock. Right? And that's not what any of us want, right? I'm sorry, constant implies that you're always on the clock. So we want to be more consistent and have more systematized communication, which is, of course, Brianna's forte. We'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to start with power opportunity number 1, which is consistent client communication. So let's go to this really cool buyer seller wheel that Phair-Hinton has created. And this actually, we use this when we are working with our buyers and sellers to help them visualize like the transaction itself, right? So if you're going to work with us, what are all the steps to get you from, client to close? And so I'm going to break this down in just a second, but basically what this shows you is kind of, we call it the buyer seller wheel, right? So it's kind of the life of a transaction. And so what I did, so check this out. I basically just busted this up this morning. You Molly, Kim, and Brianna haven't even seen this yet, but I was thinking about how the buyer wheel, we'll go back one. This implies that there's a break, right? So you get a client, you sell them a house, and then you close, right? And then at the bottom, you've got all this dead space, right? Well, if we're going to have consistent communication, right, there is no break, right? And so I can't say enough about how everybody on your team, or if you don't have a team, if you're just a solo agent, you have to play all the different roles, right? There is no break in communication, right? There's no such thing as a past client. They're either a client or a future client, right? There's no past, there's no break. So then when we break it down even a little bit more, there's 3 kind of sections of communication, right? There's agency, right? So when I have a client, I have to be an agent. I have to communicate with my client as their agent, right? Then when they get under contract, I or my team has to communicate with the client as an administrator, right? So that's where Brianna comes in as our transaction manager, or Kim comes in as our listing manager. So you got to kind of switch hats from being an agent to being an admin. And so those are different types of communication. Then when they close on their property, you've got to communicate with them as a lead, right? Then you're working on lead generation communication. So there's just never a break. And so depending on how your team is structured, right? If you're a solo agent, you play all these roles. If you've got a small team, you might play 2 of these 3 roles. And if you've got a big team like Phair-Hinton does, I work on agency, Brianna and Kim work on administrative, and Molly works on lead generation. Right? So we can leverage out the different positions on the team to have different types of communication. Okay. So hopefully that gives you just kind of a visual of how we think about communication. And we're going to talk about specific communication opportunities. So let's go back a second, actually. So we're going to skip over agency for a second because I want to flip to administrative, because Brianna and Kim on our team have such awesome nuggets, because this hopefully is going to be super, I want you guys to have like specific takeaways that you can put into your business like today. Okay. So Brianna, I'm going to start with you as our transaction coordinator. I know you're the newest on the team, but you've already worked on 200 transactions this year. So can you tell us a little bit about how you have consistent communication as the transaction coordinator?
Right. Well, most of my communication, to be entirely honest with you, starts from a template that makes sure that we're hitting all the points that we need to hit and everyone gets all the information that they need, quite frankly. But also, we all know that no real estate transaction is the same as the next. So I say they all start from templates and then they get a little Brianna love from there to get everything that they need or take out what you don't. And one example that I really like to reference is our connection email. So that starts with me communicating with the agents to get all of the information that I need about the deal to be able to function, quite frankly. And then I'm connecting with all of the different parties that are involved in the deal with all of the information that they need. So it's one big hub for any kind of reference for a date or how to turn in earnest money or when your inspection is, so that we're communicating everything to everyone in a succinct way.
Totally. She's got this template email, and so every single client gets treated exactly the same. It's awesome. Okay, Kim manages all of our listings, and just to give you guys again a reference point, we will have at the end of the year probably about 60 listings this year. So it can't happen without a consistency behind the scenes. So Kim, tell us a little bit about what it takes to be consistent as a listing manager.
Yeah, for sure. So just like Brianna has template emails, I also have the same. It's just super helpful to keep track of, what to send out, where and when, and, how, and, just really writing the process down and sending out those emails as needed. So a big part of our listing communication is after we've gone on the market is keeping, it's what we call 3 weeks of love. So basically 3 weeks of love on our team is keeping communication going with our clients after we've gone on the market. So these emails consist of anything from like open house information, showing feedback, listing exposure, anything like that. And we just send off these emails once a week just to keep the line of communication open. And then that just lets the client know too that if they have any questions that they can just bounce back with any questions that they have. It just keeps consistency throughout the life of the listing.
Yep. And it's interesting if you guys have ever been on other calls. So I think our lead gen class, maybe we talked about 3 weeks of love, but certainly when we did our team building class, like 3 weeks of love comes up a lot. And I see in the notes, Keith, I hear you, Lisa, I hear you. And anyone else who has the question of, can we see these templates? The answer is absolutely yes. Send me an email. We'll get them all to you. But these are, Diana, go ahead.
I was just going to say we can send up a follow-up to everybody who's on here. So we'll take care of that, Emily.
Yeah, amazing. So we'll put together like a whole list of like our connection emails, our 3 weeks of love. And if you're in Milwaukee and you're like, oh my God, on the market for 3 weeks, like that gives me anxiety, right? Well, the market's going to shift one day, right? And so the whole point is to have communication that's consistent no matter the market, right? In Chicago, most of our listings are on the market for 3 weeks. In Milwaukee, 3 days is a long time. But it's still a good idea to have this all planned out. So Kim and Brianna have example after example after example of this. And we obviously can't go through every single one of them, but here's the point, right? Salespeople are wildly inconsistent and unorganized and flighty, and I'm all the things, right? I'm all the things. And Kim and Brianna are not, right? They are organized, they are focused, they are in the office, they're ready to rock and roll. So if you are a salesperson, you either have to wear that hat of consistent communicator on a daily basis, or you have to hire out for it. One of those two things, right? Because you can't just be all over the place and inconsistent. Well, you can, but that's not how you build a sustainable business, and that's not how you strengthen communication with your clients. Cool. Any questions about this, guys? Just unmute yourself, throw it out there, and then we'll keep moving. Okay. So Molly, let's remember, guys, when we talk about the client wheel, we've got agency, we've got transaction management, and then lead generation. So before we move on, Molly, talk to us about consistent communication after we close the deal.
Yeah, so I am in charge of our 33 touch, social media, every way you can try and connect with the client to let them know that we are still in real estate. We kind of switched our 33 touch mantra a couple years ago. You know, we used to do Happy Thanksgiving and Happy Mother's Day and kind of like those templated emails from Command or back when it was like Market Leader. But we really switched to adding value. So that's my big thing. So adding consistent value to our clients via valuable communication. So it's in emails, it's reminding clients to have their taxes appealed. It is after they close at the very end of the year, we send them their closing statement. We send them it in the mail. We also send it in their email because we know they're going to be asking for it the next year come tax time. So we are just trying to find so many ways to systematize value to give to our clients 33 times throughout the year. And that's basically my biggest priority.
Yes, love it. And
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Kathy Popovich. I'm on Team Trimble in Lake Country. And I'm just curious. Hi, thank you for doing all this. From your marketing campaigns, your communication campaigns on a team, obviously we've got a team as well. When you're sending that out, are you sending that out from a team reference point? So from like your overall team email, or how are you attributing business to your individual agents under the umbrella of Phair-Hinton?
That is a great question and something we had previously struggled with. So when I started on the team, we were all, I think it's called Market Leader. All the agents were a Market Leader, and I had set up 4 to 5 different 33 touch emails throughout the year branded to the individual agent. That's not sustainable. That's not systematized. So I had a conversation with Emily and Kevin, and now I'm able to pull all of our emails, go into MailChimp. And while the email comes from Phair-Hinton Group and it's branded as Phair-Hinton Group, we've got our agents' Bitmojis, their headshots peppered in throughout. And I kind of like to send like group pictures and stuff so people can see, oh, hey, that's Catherine Cronin. Like, oh yeah, she's a part of Phair-Hinton Group. So we kind of do a little bit of a blended version of that, but yes, it's mostly branded Phair-Hinton just for systematized, good client communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question, Kathy. That was a hot topic a couple of years ago as we started to expand. Yeah. Guys, Molly mentioned the 33 touch. So if you're a newer agent and you don't know what that means, definitely go back to our lead generation class that Diana had alluded to earlier, and or call any one of us and we can talk you through it. But it's just kind of that basic communication that we have with clients in terms of lead generation. So when they're not actively a client of ours. So it's definitely the best thing that we've done on our team over the last 5 years is our 33 touch. Okay, we're gonna keep moving, but all of you guys jump in for any of this at any time, right? You feel free to go out of order, but I'm gonna keep us moving. Okay, so let's talk about power opportunity number 2, which is a systematized transaction management plan. And if you are a solo agent, do not fall asleep, right? We understand. I used to be a solo agent for a long, long time before I built the team. So I know what it's like to wear the hat of being admin and agent at the same time and like running around the world like a crazy person. I get that. I know. And for a lot of you, it's either where you are right now or it's where you want to be right now, right? Or both, right? And so don't sleep on this, because if you are a solo agent, you basically just have to put on your transaction management hat in the mornings or in the afternoons, whenever you choose to do it, and you have to play this role as well. But truly on our team, because we do have a full-time transaction manager, Brianna, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more with her about how she systematizes, because we were talking about consistency before, but now it's about systematizing your consistency, if that makes sense. So Brianna, I'm going back to you. Yeah. Tell us about your well, the one thing that comes to my mind is, I always laugh about this. Every day at 9:30, Brianna bugs the crap out of me. Tell us about that, Brianna.
All right. Well, it comes from a nice place of just.
I know. It's with love. With love.
It's love. I promise. So our agents know to expect a call from me every day from 9:30 to 10:30. A little bit later today, guys, because this happens to be in the middle. That's okay. They know to expect a call from me to go over all of their transactions. I have that's a lovely document of all of the notes for all of our transactions organized by agents. So I call she's first on the list, so she gets the call at 9:30. I call her, we go through every single deal, where it is, any action items that need to come from me, any updates that she has, because I don't get any text messages from clients. So when they get the like, hey, how does this work? That goes to Emily, and I need to know to respond to that. So that's our time to connect, to really get that connection piece between the agent and our transaction management system that is me. It really ends up saving us a lot of time, because I'm not out there like, hey, listing agent, when is this, can we do this inspection? Emily's like, oh, I already set this up. It's at this time, the agent is good. I've talked to the clients, we're all good to go. Just send the connection email. So I'm not out there making more work for anybody else trying to get information, because we've already done that check-in email. And that's been a big help for us and how we keep the transaction moving.
Yeah. And this was born a couple of years ago out of necessity, truly. But the way that we used to structure our business, now go back to pre-COVID, we used to go to the office. Our team would go to the office every single day, and we did lead generation from 9 until 11 every morning. And we did it as a team, and that was our standard. And then what we found is that like from 9 o'clock to 9:30, everybody was like getting coffee, hanging their jacket up, checking in on each other's weekends, answering that email from the fire that happened overnight. They were like, oh, I have to, call this client really quickly and check it. And then we didn't even start lead generation until like 9:30 or 10. And so we thought, why don't we just systematize our transaction management and clear out all the stuff that's in your brain or in your text messages, right? Because agents get all the text messages, and then we can feed that all into transaction management, so that then Brianna, by about 11 o'clock every morning, she has a full plan for her day. She doesn't have to wonder what clients need what, because she's already just talked to everybody. she's got a plan, and then she can go and actually be productive. So at the end, even though she bugs me in the morning, which I love, it takes me 10 or 15 minutes. I got to answer the phone. I got to talk to her and I tell her all the things, but then it saves her and I a ton of time. And then the client is perfectly taken care of throughout the day, every single day. So Brianna, how many days a week do you do this?
5.
Okay. So what if there's no update?
Oh, if there's no update, I ask you about your weekend and how you're doing. And really, there's always a little bit of an update.
There's always an update.
There's always something to check in on, or, hey, they're closing on this date, like just to keep dates at the front of your mind because they are so important in this market.
Yeah, for sure. So this actually goes a little bit back to consistency with communication with each other, right? So even if you think there's nothing to update, there's always something to update. Even if it's just repeating the exact same conversation you had yesterday, because then nothing can fall through the cracks, right? And if somebody,
no update is an update. And you should tell the
Exactly.
clients, no update, no
Yep.
action items.
no action items. That's a total update. You got it, Mom. Okay, Kim, let's switch over to you because on the listing side, tell us a little bit more about how you systematize listing management.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to back up real quick and cover Peggy's question on who covers for Brianna when she's on vacation. That is a great question. So I used to be the transaction manager. So when Brianna, is on vacation, her well-deserved vacation, I step in for her. So like Molly said, we all have kind of a system where we like shift around. I just moved into the listing management role, like 4-ish months ago, still in training. And so when I'm on vacation, Molly will then step in for me, and vice versa. When Molly's on vacation, I'll step in for her. So like we all kind of know each other's roles. So it works out really well. So we can all go on our vacations that we deserve. But as far as systemized transaction management or systemized communication, so for me, what is really helpful is for the agents when they secure a listing, the first thing that they'll do is send what we call like a green light email. So this email really, it gives me 2 things. It introduces me to the client, and then it gives the client kind of what to expect for next steps. So we're always like in communication with the client of like what to expect next. This gives me the green light then to send like seller homework and listing paperwork. And then at the end of the email, I'll always put like what to expect next. So like their questions, they'll never have like a question in their mind of like, hey, what's coming next on this? Like it'll always be answered in the email.
Love it. Kim, talk about powerful. What is seller homework?
Seller homework, yes. So this is another part of our systemized process. So seller homework is a long list of questions that we have for the client about their home. This ranges from anything from like bed bath count, the age of the roof, assessments. I mean, it goes on and on and on, but this is something that they will then turn around. This is what we call seller homework. So it's homework for them to go ahead and fill out and then give back to us. So we have all the information ahead of time. So we're never having to like backtrack of, needing that information. It's just there ahead of time for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'll add to this. So if you guys are taking on a lot of listings, one of the things we systematized a few years ago, in addition to seller homework, is we only list our properties on Wednesdays. And that kind of like blows people's minds. Like you see listings coming on every day of the week. And we say, well, actually, wouldn't it be great if we only listed on Wednesdays? And even if we have 4 or 5 or 6 listings on a Wednesday, it still saves us time if we go all in on one day, because photo shoots are all on one day, seller homework all happens on one day, listing preparation happens on one day, and then listing live happens one day, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's another way to systematize that listing management to save everybody time in the long run. Now, with respect to communication, it's also, think about how beautiful it sounds to a seller when you say, okay, I'm going to send you seller homework and fill it out. And then if we have all the accurate and complete information about your property, it's such an awesome way for me to sell your property to the buyer to solicit a higher offer at a faster pace. Right? So that's a powerful comment. A seller is going to say, yeah, I want that. Right? So yeah, it's good for us on the back end from an admin side, but from a client side, That's a powerful comment. We've got our ducks in a row behind the scenes. We've got everything organized, and then they feel well taken care of and confident in us getting them an offer. So that's the whole point behind the scenes. Molly, anything on your side to add? You don't do much with transactions, I imagine, no, but jump in if you've got anything.
No, if the systems are working, I don't have to step in at all. This is a new luxury for me.
I love it. We're trying to free up Molly's time so she can generate, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me also just say one thing about our admin, and we'll talk about it in the next power opportunity as well. But if I'm working with a buyer or a seller, as the agent, it's super important that I tee up Kim and or Brianna or both in a really effective way, right? So when I'm at the listing appointment or when we go under contract, it is my job to make sure that I communicate that Brianna's going to take over from here. Brianna is, I always say, Brianna is your new best friend, and she's going to manage everything from this point forward, right? So I say that, and I'm clear about that, so that when Brianna starts to send them emails, they know, I'm not your girl anymore, Brianna's your girl. And then they know, and they're well trained. I also do this with, so we talk about communicating with clients is one thing, but also with co-brokes, right? So when I go under contract with a co-broke, the first thing I say is, okay, don't text me anymore. Unless it's urgent. Now take everything over to email and make sure Brianna or Kim or whoever is CC'd on everything, right? So I'm training my clients, I'm training my co-brokes to basically follow my rules to have better, more streamlined communication and more efficiency throughout the transaction. So that's a really important key. You can't just throw it at Brianna. You got to tell the client what you're doing, right? Yeah.
Okay, actually, someone put in the comments, so asking if the agent collects any information at the listing appointment. You said a really good thing the other day, and it just made me think of that when you're with a client at their house, you say, thank you for telling me, all of this information, but I don't trust my brain. My brain is unreliable. So Kim is going to follow up with you directly, and you guys are going to get everything about your house on paper so that there are no confusion in the communication.
Yep, that's exactly right. And if another question that might come out of this question is, do we take listing paperwork to a listing appointment and things like that? The answer is generally no. So when I'm in a client's home, my mission is to have powerful communication, right? And so that means I have to be super present, right? I'm not worried about I don't even know how to fill out listing paperwork. I'm sure I could figure it out, but that would be a distraction from focused on the client and their home and what they need, right? So my focus when I'm there is on them and my communication with them. Kim, Brianna, they will handle everything offline once we get the agreement, right? And then that's when Kim was talking about with the green light.
Emily, one more statement.
Yeah, I just wanted to bust in here for real quick. You're setting some great, one of the things I love about this is that you're setting very clear expectations as you work with all of the people that you work with. Yep. And I know that we're getting some questions and some people wonder how to do that, right? So a lot of individual agents or people with teams say, please do this way, or this, I'm available now. And our people go outside of that, right? So even the question in the chat right now, how do you help hammer home, or do you find that you need to hammer home, this is how we do things, please communicate with us this way, such that it is a system that actually works for you instead of something that's a kind of a frustration. This is how we'd like it to work, but it doesn't really work this way. You know what I mean?
So our agents are really great about checking to make sure that I'm CC'd on an email. And if I'm not, the response email is looping in my transaction coordinator, Brianna, please copy your on emails moving forward. She'll be able to handle this for you, so that Emily's not answering the question. Because if she answers the question, they're going to keep thinking that they can keep going to her. And that's not an efficient use of our system. So it's just that email response back, looping me in, looping Kim in, and saying that we'll handle it.
Yep.
So I love that. To me, it's you're teaching people how to treat you over and over, respectfully, right? But this is how it works best. Let's not step out of our lane, right?
Yeah. Diana, way to throw in a bold law. I love it.
And bold's coming up, you guys.
I know. I could say a whole bunch throughout this presentation if you need me to.
For sure. Love it.
So, okay, but Rory, I want to answer your question because this is to what Brianna was just saying. So when we're out in the field, right, or we're we're just running around all day, right? We're getting calls, we're getting texts, we're getting emails, and they're coming to me maybe, and people are not CCing Brianna, right? Because as much as I try to train people, I can't control people. I would love to. That would make me so happy. Oh, that would make me happy. But it's not going to happen. So like, I'm not going to fight reality. So what I would do, Rory, is we talk about this a lot. Like, I try to do my best to not undermine Brianna's role, right? So for example, if a client texts me a question, I will screenshot the question, send it to Brianna, and then she will answer it via email. So I didn't even say, hey, Brianna will get back to you. I didn't even say that. I just sent the question. And then the client knows, oh, Emily must have sent this question to Brianna. Brianna's the person to talk to, right? Or I will forward the email to Brianna and she'll then respond and then add me to it versus the other way around, okay? So give your admin, or if you're wearing that admin role at the time, give that role like the power, right? So let that person take on the responsibility of answering all the questions. The second you start to like answer the question like halfway, or like, let me check on that and get back to you, they're going to ask you another question, right? And this is such a beautiful thing. You can tell from the start of a transaction what client you didn't train correctly and what client you did. Because for example, Brianna, you're going to love this. 608 more, I have that closing today, right? Yep. I did not train that client well. I had to screenshot about 10 text messages throughout the process and send it over to Brianna because I messed up when I put them under contract. I did not give them the proper communication at like the front end. And so now they came to me for every little tiny thing. And truly it should have gone to Brianna. So you'll know who's going to be reaching out and who's not. So get ahead of it, and just the first time it happens, nip it in the bud, send it over to your TC and let them take it from there. Kathy, we don't measure rooms. So that's an easy answer. So we just don't.
Okay. I went ahead and answered, it was, we don't, and then we make an accurate guess, but we also, Kim is very good at sending our clients a draft of the listing in the MLS 2 days before we go on the market. So they have a chance to look at everything, approve, or let us know what edits need to be made. And I've never had someone say that our guesses were off for their room measurements.
Yeah. And Kathy, I mean, to be totally honest, this is a little bit the difference between the Milwaukee market and the Chicago market, right? In Chicago, no one would ever measure rooms. We could get a floor plan maybe, but that's just not what happens because we don't talk square footage in Chicago. In Milwaukee, we do talk square footage. And if we were going to measure them, we would just have it done with the photo shoot if we needed to. Or we take really, really good guesses and cross our fingers. There's that too. All right.
Mostly that one.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to keep moving because we got a lot more to talk about. All right, let's talk about less often and more purpose, right? So this has been a hot topic in our business lately because we see a lot of people, including like some of my very best friends in the whole world. And I'll give you an example. This happened like 2 days ago. One of my best friends who's an agent in Chicago, she's a top agent. She does really well. Some of you guys might know her. She had posted something on Instagram. It was like a beautiful photo and she was talking all about how much she loves her job, et cetera, et cetera. And she basically said, hey, I work all day, every day. I'm always available. Call me 24/7. I got you. And Molly, Kim, and I were like cringing. We were like, no, like, don't know, like, I want to go to dinner with you. Don't be on your phone while like she's my friend. I'm like, no. And so there often you guys will see like agents, especially, but people in general, there's like a badge of honor or like a value in being so busy all the time, right? Oh, I'm so busy. Or I work so much. I worked 80 hours this week, like something to be proud of. And I want to offer, what if we do it the other way around? What if we're like, oh, we only worked 20 hours this week? And I'm not saying that we only work 20 hours, but wouldn't that be the thing to be bragging about, right? Let's make $1 million and work 20 hours a week. That sounds way better than making $1 million and working super hard or working 24/7, right? So there's ways that we can control our communication with our clients and with each other so that we're talking, we're working, we're on less often, but we have purpose to our communication, which affords us the less often part, right? So one of the things that comes to my mind, and Kim, you're so good at this, is our Tuesday check-in calls with sellers. Tell us about those.
Yeah, for sure. So a part of our 3 weeks of love on Monday is what I'll do is I'll send an email to the clients, letting them know their, lead agent, Emily, will be checking in with them on Tuesday to go over, pricing, showing feedback, market time, market stats, anything like that. So then on Tuesday, the agents will all call the clients to go over, all this stuff, check in with them, seeing if there's anything that they need. And it just helps on the front end. So like the clients know that the agents are going to be calling and that they should be expecting a call from the agent, and B, it's not like leaving, the door open for them to be, of course they can call on a Tuesday, Wednesday, but hopefully all those questions that they had will get answered and resolved on that Tuesday check-in call.
Yeah, totally. So Kim sends this email to the sellers and I go, oh crap, now I can't not do it, right? Because Kim put it in writing, right? Which is a beautiful thing. So then on Tuesdays, I have a full conversation with all of my sellers. And by the way, I think Phair-Hinton has joined us and he's our other listing agent. And he also does the same thing. And then Ben Klein on our team too. But I have a full conversation with the seller on Tuesday, every single Tuesday, regardless of whether or not there's anything all that fascinating to say. But what happens then is that I don't have to talk to them for the rest of the week. Right? They know when are their open houses, what's the showing feedback, what's going on in the market, right? Rather than me just like waiting for them to call me, because if they're going to call me, they're going to do it at like 7 p.m., right? Or they're going to do it like right when I'm walking into yoga, right? Or they're going to do it just as I open that bottle of wine. And it's like, ugh, right? So why don't I just control that? Why don't I schedule it, talk to them, and then get it out of the way? And then they're happy because they have all the information that they need. And I'm happy because I don't have to be fielding all kinds of phone calls all day long or texts or, panic emails that we get, right? We just kind of narrow that down. And so we plan to have communication, and the same thing with buyers as well. And it's so interesting. Like we've done 205 transactions this year. And like my phone hasn't rang since I've been 45 minutes, nothing has happened. No text. The only text I got was from a friend, Emily, my friend Emily, and from Bethany Clark. I hope you got on. Hi, Bethany. And that's it, right? So when we are strategic with our communication, we don't have to do it as often. Our phones don't blow up. So I love that. And I mentioned this before, but this, Brianna, this is for you, really. When we are better about communicating less often with our own clients, then we are resisting that urge to undermine Brianna, undermining the process, right? And Phil Byers, who you guys might know, I love him. He has so many little nuggets, but he told me years ago, he's like, what if you just didn't respond? And I was like, oh, no, right? But now if I just take a step back from urgent, a client's version of an urgent message and just let the process work itself out, right? Let Brianna respond, let Kim respond. Maybe the co-broke is going to send me an update, right? Whatever it may be, we don't have to be so urgent and so like anxious with our communication. We can just let it all happen. So Brianna, you see this the most. Anything you want to add?
No, you really covered it, because what you're doing is giving me all the information that I need to really get ahead of our clients so that we're getting fewer and fewer of the urgent panic texts because I've already gotten their information. So you covered it.
Yeah, cool. All right, we're going to keep moving because a lot of this stuff we covered already. Okay, so let's talk about leverage, right? And if you follow Charlie and you listen to him and you ever are paying attention, he always says leverage is the new hustle, and we love that. And so we have taken it on as our own. But let's talk about people as leverage, and then also systems as leverage, right? I think it's maybe easier to see people as leverage, especially if you're in like team building mode, right? So if you have a team, clearly Kim, Brianna, and Molly are all leverage to me. I love them, right? But also systems as leverage, right? Because we've got our Zoom here, right? So we don't all have to be in one room. We're using Zoom as leverage to have an effective meeting, right? So let's start with people, all the different roles. Mal, you've been on the team the longest. So tell us about all the different roles on the team and all the different leverage points that we have with people.
Gosh, okay. I could talk for an hour about this, but just real quick. So we obviously have our admin leverage, which you guys have gotten to know me, Kim, and Brianna on this call. And then we also have team agents who are agents on our team who can work with buyers or sellers. We also have listing support agents. So someone just put in the chat, you know, who responds to the clients during weekends if the admins are off. So this listing support agent, we have used as admin and Emily, Kevin, Ben, listing agent leverage. So this person is the boots on the ground. They're going to photo shoots. They're going property walkthroughs, hanging lock boxes, hanging signs. They're kind of fielding those client questions that might come in after hours or possibly on the weekends. And sometimes that just looks like Molly or Kim will get back to you on Monday. You know, that might even be what their response is based on the question. So that's really our listing leverage. And then we also have showing agent leverage. So Emily and Kevin, and even other agents on our team, as we're starting to grow, are going to be using each other as showing agent leverage. So what that looks like is one agent on our team will engage another agent and ask them if they would like to take out their clients for those initial showings. And they'll go, I mean, we never know how many showings that's going to be. Obviously, as agents, you all know that too. Sometimes that's 3 showings, sometimes that's 10. But that showing agent will take those clients out for the first initial showings. And then once they want to write an offer or possibly see a place again, their lead agent will step back in and write the contract, negotiate, do all of that stuff. But the showing agent is really there to protect the lead agent's time and leverage that time out so that they can have more time to lead gen, more communication with their under contract clients, what have you. So those are, I think, our main points of leverage on the team, or at least what we have on the slide.
Yeah. Okay, so let's use this example that Molly was just talking about, where I might have a buyer and I'm going to leverage the help of a showing agent, right? So there's one important communication key here that, like, when I pass my client on to, like, so I'm going to pass my buyer on to, say, Daisy on my team, who I use her as my showing agent quite a bit, and she's amazing, right? So one key thing is, like, you can't apologize for passing a client along. So the conversation doesn't sound like, hey, I'm really booked up this weekend. Sorry, I can't be at the showing. I'm going to send Daisy on my behalf. That's not the conversation, right? That's not powerful to a client, right? To the client, it's Daisy's amazing. She knows the neighborhood. She's going to rock and roll with you. You're in great hands. She's awesome. She'll see you there at 10 a.m., right? Then all of a sudden the client goes, oh yeah. Like, great, I'll see her there, right? And then she shows up and she is amazing, right? So at first, I mean, it starts with a belief, right? That, like, my showing agents are awesome, which they are, right? We only hire awesome people. And then it's communicating that belief to the client so they don't think they're somehow being passed along or they're on the B team or whatever the client might think, I don't know. That they feel like, no, this is just how it goes. This is part of the game. Like, I don't take buyers out on first showings, ever. Right? And so this is how it's going to go. I'm going to set you up with Daisy. She's the best. She's got you. And you have to present it in that way, right? Because one of the things we hear a lot, and I bet you guys, there's some of you guys who are thinking about this. My clients want me. Have you guys ever thought that? Like, I know you have. I think I did probably 10 years ago, or probably even like a year ago, right? But that's just not true. Okay. So challenge your own set of thinking. If you've ever had that thought, my client wants me, I want you to think about what it is about you that your client wants and deserves, right? So professionalism, right? They want somebody who knows the market. They want somebody who's articulate. They want somebody who can communicate well. They want somebody who's on time, like all these adjectives, right? So really your client wants and deserves a set of adjectives, okay? So
Emily, but what about the adjectives you're not?
Oh, well, okay. So a client might also deserve somebody who's not like me, right? Somebody who's organized and detail oriented and punctual and things like that, right? So Brianna, thanks. So there's the adjectives you are and the adjectives that you aren't, right? And so what if you could find somebody that balances you and or is those adjectives, right? So if like for a showing agent, for example, I don't have to apologize for sending Daisy because she's also punctual. She's also articulate. She's also professional. She knows the market. She's a good negotiator, right? So I'm sending somebody with those adjectives. It doesn't have to be me, right? So just challenge, it just comes up a lot. My client wants me. Nope, they just don't. They don't. They probably like you, right? They like you. So they're like, cool, this person's fun and awesome, but you could also send somebody else who's awesome. Cool. Okay. We'll talk more about people, but we're going to switch gears to talk about systems as leverage. Here are all the people on our team, with the exception of one who was out on maternity leave when these pictures were taken. But this is, if you put it all together and takes them out, this is all the people on our team that are leverage. And each one of us serves as leverage for the other person in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so get on board with adding and including your people as your leverage. We look so cute. These are both taken in Milwaukee. One's at AmFam, and the other one is at, where were we? Mega Camp. Cool. Okay, let's talk about systems as leverage. And Kim and Brianna, you use more systems than I do. So Brianna, probably you the most. So tell us a little bit about the systems that you've adopted as leverage.
My favorite Milwaukee system that we've come to love is trust funds. It saves me eons of time. Where does the earnest money need to go? Do you have a Dropbox for after hours Dropbox, like to get it dropped off after my client can actually get there? It saves me the emails, it saves me the communication with the client, because it is now just here's the information for trust funds and how to use it. Done. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like one example of how much time is saved with Brianna, but then how easy it is for the client, right? So instead of sending your client on a rat race to get this earnest money in, we get to say, oh, cool, there's Earnestly, or there's trust funds, right? So if you guys have a system out there in front of you that you're not using, snatch it up, because it's going to make the communication with your client that much easier, right? Because you can make their life smoother, right? There's a lot for them to do when they go under contract. So if you can use one of these systems, right, then do it. Kim, anything you want to add? You've got a bunch of systems in your back pocket.
Yeah, for sure. One we really like to use is showing time for leverage for systems. So this just provides us with actual data of, market time, pricing, showing feedback that we can provide to the client. So they're not just thinking, oh, Emily's crazy or something like that, or the agent, it's just like actual physical data that we could use to the client. So a good example of this, one of our condos in Chicago, a lot of the feedback that we were getting was, it's like a lofted space, and the top floor, a lot of the feedback we were getting was just like the ceilings were too low. So by this, we were able to kind of, talk to the client about this and, provide, staging for the lofted space. So the clients can then go in there, the potential buyers can go in there and say, okay, this could be used for a home office instead of a bedroom, or a little bit of something else. So from the showing feedback that we got from that, we were able to provide that to the clients for actual data of, the space.
Yep. And talk about powerful, right? And we talk about this on our team all the time. Like, whoever shows up to the conversation with more data, whatever, wins, right? And no, we're not trying to win the conversation against. We're not against the client, right? But if we can bring this information to the client, and we have a list of all the showings we've had, how many per week, when they've occurred, who they've been by, what's the feedback, and we can present. It's really hard to argue for the seller to argue against the information that's right in front of them. So showing time is a great example of collecting all that information and using that as leverage to have a strong conversation with a client that you might be nervous about, but if you present them the information and 20 people said you're overpriced, I don't really have to say much, right? Communication is coming from the feedback, from the showing time. Yeah, so that's a great example, actually. We love showing time. Obviously, we use it, most of us on this call use showing time as leverage for showings, but think about it on the other side, the back end, right, for the feedback. Yeah. Okay. So power opportunity number 5, this is where Molly and I tend to get a little woo-woo, and we love it. We could talk about this for a really, really, really long time, but we're gonna scratch the surface of this idea, and then we're gonna let you guys think on this for the rest of the day, okay? So our mission on Phair-Hinton Chicago Milwaukee is to add value in every interaction. Okay, so value is our mission. And when we talk about value, if we want to make more money, right, we can all assume that we'd like to make more money. There's only one way to make more money, And it's not by selling houses, and it's not by like having a better listing strategy, right? It's by figuring out how to consistently and constantly add more value to the people in your world. That's it, right? And that could come in the form of better communication with clients or a better system for listings or whatever. But it starts with value, okay? So if you can add value to the people in front of you, you are ultimately going to have a more successful business and a more sustainable business. Okay. So I just want you guys to think about what it means to add value. So Molly, you and I talk about this so much. So I just want to hear kind of your thoughts on like how you think about adding value with our clients.
So my idea of value to our clients has changed in the past like couple of years. You know, when we originally talked about value, I was like, how am I going to say something positive to our clients? This was when I was in the listing manager role every single day during the 3 weeks of love. Like, how am I going to do that? To me, then value was like something positive. However, after talking with Emily and like thinking about life, honestly, like life is not all positivity. So to think that like we're only going to be talking to our clients in like these ultra positive ways really sets us up for failure, because if it's our 3rd week on the market and I'm like, I don't know, like I say something like ridiculously positive, like just as like a client touch or a value add, then they're going to be like, this is so random. Like, why didn't this listing manager just like send me, yay, we got a showing? It's like, no, we're 3 weeks into the market. This is our first showing. That's actually not necessarily a good thing. So Emily and I have talked recently a lot about like life is 50-50, where 50% of life is good and 50% of life is bad. And bad doesn't even necessarily have to be like negative. It's just like, it is what it is. You know, I have to answer emails for an hour every morning. That's not necessarily good or not necessarily bad, but it is what it is, and I have to do it. And so once you get into that mindset and realizing that like value to your clients is transparency and honesty and being, you know, accountable and accurate, that's when you shift into actually giving them value and having them see you as like a resource in real estate rather than just like an ultra positive cheerleader all the time who actually never sold their home. Not that we don't do that. We always sell their home, but Emily, is that a good summary of what you wanted me to say?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we talk about honesty and transparency equal kindness, right? And a lot of times we just want to give the good news and we struggle with the bad news, but we're talking about powerful client communication. That's the whole point, right? And to have a powerful conversation, you have to be honest. You just do. Right? And we have to be honest with our clients, whether it's good, better, and different, right? We have to be honest with each other, right? We have to be honest with our co-brokes, right? If there's something going on with the deal, we have to tell them. We have to, right? And so Molly is totally right. The sooner we can just get on board with life being 50-50 and stop the struggle of fighting reality, right? Because I think we would all say like, I just want to be happy. Well, guess what? Happy all the time is not an option, right? But it is an option to just accept the 50-50. And if you can accept that, then you can clear your head of fighting reality and you can move on having these powerful conversations and being present when you're communicating with your clients, with your coworkers, with your co-brokes. So this is again where it gets kind of woo-woo, but I think like if you guys can just go back to the basics and say, how can I add value? How can I add value? How can I add value? It often will come in the form of kindness, but it will often come in the form of just be honest, right? Just be honest and tell them what they need to hear. And I promise you that's going to result in a net positive. If you play the optimistic cheerleader game, it's going to result in a net negative. Yeah. Okay. So here are the power opportunities, and we'll save a little bit of time for questions because I'm sure there's a ton of like tactical things that you guys want to know, and we'll be happy to answer them. But just to go through, okay, so here's the big takeaway, right? So Kevin and I, and PhD in general, right? So any one of the 14 of us, we are going to preach. I hate that word. But we're going to advise you guys not to go out and ask people for referrals, right? In the way of maybe what you've learned in the past, right? Who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Like we will never do that. That will never be part of our lead generation ever, right? So what we have decided to do on our team is to turn powerful conversations into a referral-based business by just adding value to each interaction that we have, right? And if we do that consistently over time, if we're focused on value, then we're going to have a sustainable business that can last any market, right? So whether the transaction went really well or the transaction went south because there was a flood in the basement, it doesn't matter. If we have powerful communication with our client, we will end up getting the referral in the long run. Okay. Now, bigger takeaway. Our mission on PHG is not to build a big business. Our mission is to just be awesome people, add value to the world, and make the entire world a better place. Okay, so notice that like throughout this whole conversation, we never said that we're in it for an exchange of value, ever. We're in it to add value. Okay, an exchange of value would mean that we're looking for our clients to give us something back, like for example, a referral, right? But we don't ask for referrals because we know that if we just add value and we're awesome people and we provide excellent communication and service, somehow, like we don't really know, but somehow it's going to come back to us in the form of money, right? Because remember what I said earlier, if you want to make a lot of money, which we all do, then you got to add more value to the world. So that's our bigger takeaway. All right, here, questions, and then also I'm going to flip here so that if you guys have any specific questions for any one of us on the team, here are our email addresses. Guys, connect with us also on Instagram and Facebook and all that. We are always happy to answer questions. We're always happy to share, to add value. So whatever we can do, but we will open it up to questions. So we've got a few minutes. Diana, I don't know if we need to cut the Zoom.
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you guys for sharing everything that you have put in place that has made your trajectory such a successful one. And I know we have people on the call that are listening that are in team building process or that may be thinking about it or who are individual agents. You guys, I just want to underscore everything that they've talked about. As an individual agent, the systems, consistency, adding value, all of that all holds water, whether you're on a big team or your team are your vendor relationships, right? Setting those expectations. So value across the board, Emily and Phair-Hinton Group. I love this. And we did talk about tactics. Does anybody have any tactical questions or philosophical questions that they want to share or they want to address with the group?
I've got a question for Emily, if I may.
Yeah. Bring it.
Hey, Emily, thanks very much for bringing this. And I'm really looking forward to getting the systems and the templates to follow up. But so you've been in business for 5 years. That would, by my math, be 2016, right?
Well, that's a little bit wrong. So let me clarify. Or do you want to go with your question first?
Yeah, well, my question is, how did you and Kevin and what, I guess maybe what level you were at or dollar volume or GCI or transaction level you were at when you decided that you were going to hire Molly?
Yeah. Oh, this is the best question. Yes, Peter, thank you. Okay, so let me just clarify. So I actually started in the business in 2008, I think, right post-recession, like when the world like had fallen apart and everybody cried all the time and it was terrible. And I was like, I'll be a realtor. Good idea. Okay. So, and then I struggled for the first few years as a solo agent. I hopped around to different brokerages. I was in Chicago. And then I eventually landed on a team with Joe Zimmerman, who a lot of you guys might know, in Chicago. And that's where I met Kevin. And we were on the same team. And also Rory, who's on the call. We were on the same team in 2016, I think. And then we were buyers agents on that team briefly, Peter. And then we decided to spin off and start our own business. We thought like, okay, we've learned enough about like how to be on a team. Now we think we're capable of starting a team. So Kevin and I floated in parallel as solo agents for about 6 months until we decided to partner and hire Molly. At that time, we were probably at a combined volume of maybe 20 million, maybe. Like maybe I was at 10 million, maybe Kevin was at 10 million, but it's probably something more like a total of like 16, 17 million combined. And we hired Molly. And we knew, and we say this a lot and it's cheesy, it makes us roll our eyes, but we love it. We had this feeling that 1 + 1 would equal 3. So we knew that we were going to stay at 8, 9, 10 million forever if we didn't combine forces and hire Molly. So we were scared big time to do it. And we ripped the Band-Aid off and did it anyway. And then Molly led us to Allie, who led us to Kim, who led us to Jamie, and then it goes from there. But Peter, if you want to know like the whole history of PhD, we did a team building class and we actually map out like who was hired and when they were hired and what role they were hired for.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a great question. Molly
Great
free.
question.
She
What
did.
Have.
Yeah. What else you got? Anybody? Mary Beth, your question, when a new agent starts on your team, what's their role and how does it change with time? So Molly answered this, but it's true that we hire agents. We don't have a system for how we hire, who we hire, and when we hire. The truth is we plug along and we just know when it's time to hire. And that is when one of two things happens, right? When either our admins start to get way too busy to handle the volume, okay? That's a good indicator. Tears is a good indicator. Love you, admin. But it's true, right? And from me, right? Another indicator on the agent side is if you have agents producing at a high level and you still have a surplus of leads, right? Then you know, okay, cool, we can feed everybody we have and we can feed more mouths if they come in. So if those two things are happening on whatever side of the business, then you know you're ready. And maybe even like slightly before, right? So we hired Molly, I would argue, slightly before we were ready. Like just maybe 6 months before. But what she did was whip us into shape and we grew a lot faster because she was on board, but she made us really nervous because we didn't have, her entire salary in the bank account when we did it. Well, I didn't. But we ripped the Band-Aid off and then sure enough, it was totally fruitful.
Yeah, great way to think about that, you guys. If you are thinking about a team, and I love that worry of not having the entire salary in the bank, but you're looking at a month at a time, right? And the work that they do, Molly, sounds like this is something that you absolutely do, is that you bring your role funds itself, basically, right? So classic.
There's something wrong.
Yeah, MREA classic. I love that.
For sure.
One question in the chat. Can we dive in just a little bit more on, Molly, your role in terms of lead gen?
Yeah, so like Kim said, she just took over the listing manager role. I kind of think about my role on the team. So I started with Emily and Kevin and I was transaction manager, listing manager, marketing person. And as we've grown, I've been given the opportunity to take certain things off my plate and focus more on the things that I really like to do, which is business building. So I haven't gotten a complete opportunity to be like director of lead gen, director of ops, but that will be totally changed in the last quarter of this year and also in 2022. But really, I mean, I'm just focused on getting leads to come into our business in the form of also like adding value. So I was going to say, like in the presentation, like something that is really going to be a big factor for me is like having more effective 33 touches, like making sure that our agents are well trained and have because lead generation, I mean, yes, that looks at having leads coming in, but we also want to retain our agents. And I want to make sure everyone on our team is happy and fed. So that can look like admin training, agent recruiting. So there's a lot more that goes into it besides just like doing cold leads on on a website or something like that. That's going to be a part of it, but I guess it's a lot more comprehensive than that is the way I'm taking the role.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Molly's role is in part to bring in more leads, but it's mostly to figure out how to add more value through what we're already doing, and then how to hold everybody on the team accountable to fulfilling their lead generation promise to the team. That's really what it comes down to, right? Because Molly says, how many appointments do you have? How many deals do you have? Right? So it's an accountability factor that really then puts all of us agents on the spot, right? We can't hide behind, we're so busy, or we can't hide behind our current deals because Molly's going to come after us and she's going to find us. And that's a beautiful thing, actually. We're really excited for Molly to be in that accountability role.
I have just a logistical follow-up question then, again, on that from a communication standpoint. If you're using, social media as one of those channels of communication, are you doing that off of your Phair-Hinton business page, and then your agents are then sharing off that business page, or are they taking some of what you're doing and doing it on their own, on their own personal page, just curious how you guys are handling that element.
Yeah, so I do our social media and like marketing. So that's something also that I'm looking to definitely take to the next level once I'm fully in my role. And then I do that off the Phair-Hinton page. And then all of our agents are responsible for posting their personal and professional things onto their personal pages. We have like weekly lead gen challenges where Emily and Kevin and myself and, you know, the leadership and admin would say, hey guys, like we really want to start promoting our Alzheimer's walk. You guys need to post on your personal pages 3 times throughout the week and direct them to our team page so that they can RSVP. We have challenges like that, but we don't necessarily hold anyone accountable to social media on their personal channels. However, we hire people who want to build big businesses, so they take it upon themselves to do that and to promote themselves and the team. So it hasn't really been like an issue because we hire really well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone ask questions?
Happy to stick around.
And I have to say, I appreciate all of the nuggets that you've dropped and the wisdom. Over what I'm hearing is consistency and clarity and value over and over. And that's, you know, kind of the foundation of great, powerful communication. So Molly, Brianna, Kim, Emily, thank you all for sharing this time. I want to be respectful of your time. Everybody else, I know you guys said you would hang around a little bit. If you are on this call, we'll make sure that we get the follow-up information to you and really greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm seeing lots of thank yous, you guys.
Oh, so
Love it. Love it. Love it.
what a good crew.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome turnout. Thank you guys so much for promoting it.
Well, when you have when you are you, it's easy to promote it. And we just have to say the Phair-Hinton Group is doing some and we get people showing up. So you guys are crushing it. I love it. I love it. Should I be in touch with you about the template?
Yeah, I'm gonna loop back with Kim and Brianna and Emily, and I'm just gonna like put together like a Google Doc with all of our templates, and then I'll send it over to you.
Perfect. Perfect. And you know what? I'm going to take a note from your presentation. I'm going to have you follow that up with Kathleen.
Okay.
Make sure that we get it out. Okay.
Perfect. Yes, I have Kathleen's contact information already. So yes, direct me to the right person. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, I got to learn that myself. So great work, you guys. I really appreciate it. And keep crushing it. We expect double next year. Is that the plan?
Yeah, no pressure, right? I should
Just
triple
no
in
pressure.
Milwaukee or quadruple.
Just manifesting it, right? Let's make it.
Yes.
Diana, are you gonna keep this recording and have it posted to YouTube?
Yes, we will do that this afternoon. I think it will happen either this afternoon or tomorrow, and we'll make sure that you guys get notification when it goes up. So
Yeah, no, I actually think in part, I think we'd like to watch it ourselves because we'd like to keep perfecting it so that we can add more value next time.
yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was super value, so super valuable.
Thank you. Well, we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, that would be exciting. All right, great one.
Okay, thanks, Diana.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.